All right, what's up?
Welcome. So we have a lot of data to go over today. A couple comparison videos with a Torqstorm and a Procharger.
Yep.
You've seen a lot of Prochargers on the channel if you've been subscribed for any amount of time here. So, but this was a little bit different. It's a little bit different than our typical package. This customer wanted something that was a little more budget friendly. It's not Torqstorm budget friendly, but we kind of wanted to show what you get when you get a Torqstorm versus what you get when you get a Procharger. Our typical package is a D1SC with a 3-core intercooler and the race valve. And this package is the P1SC with a 2-core intercooler. Still had the race valve. You got to have the whooshing noises there. But
P1.
It has our 7/8 lower with the ATI damper and our blower ring spacer, and it has a 4.25 upper, which I'll be honest, I wasn't 100% sure where it was going to land boost wise because we don't usually use the P1SC and we don't usually use the 2-core. So
yeah, I'm pretty happy with where it ended up at.
It landed pretty good, I think. I know where it would have landed on a D1 with a 3-core, and it's about 2 PSI less than that. And it's cold today.
Yeah, very cold, yeah.
Yeah,
we'll see when you get to the correction factors. That's crazy. And here's where you can sort of see the the 2-core difference. It sort of stops here and here, where the 3-core is about 3 inches more on each side.
Yeah, it takes up, you have a whole additional core, so it's about half wider on each side. It takes up the entire space between the sides of the radiator there. So
yeah, John initially he reached out about a Torqstorm.
He did, yeah. And while we don't dislike Torqstorm, we highly prefer Procharger because it gives you some room to grow in the future.
Yeah, and we've been a dealer with them and working with them for literally a decade now.
Great relationship with them, and we know them very, very well. While we have also done some things with Torqstorm as far as helping them design a grip tech hub and pulley, helping ZPE.
And they actually reach out. They've reached out to us a few times for questions and asking for data. And buddy CJ, I think we did a short on his car last week.
Yeah. So we had the same cam. This is the red hot cam.
Yep.
He had the red hot cam.
He had about the same converter.
Yeah, it's very, very, very similar, but he had a Torqstorm with a 325 upper and their stock lower.
Which to give them their, I guess, specifications, that is their lower boost pulley, the 3.25. They offer a 3.1, and then we also put some 2.9s on.
Some smaller ones there. So we kind of wanted to do a good comparison and just kind of see what the difference was power-wise at the end of the day.
Is this the lowest horsepower Procharger you could put on a G8? Is there anything you could do that would be option less than this?
I think the P1 is probably it.
And then the 2-core is the smallest intercooler?
P600Bs or something that we used to way back. But yeah, the P1SC is the smaller of them. It has the same 410 step-up ratio as the D1SC. It's a little bit smaller. It doesn't flow quite the CFM. I think it's a couple hundred CFM less.
Okay. I was just wondering.
We're spinning this one at 7,000 engine RPM. It's in the 50,000 RPM, blower RPM range.
Okay.
They redline at 72, I believe, thousand. So
it's got room to grow.
You can do a lot with a P1SC. Don't get me wrong. I think that the intercooler and, as you'll see, the fuel system is what's holding us back the most. The 3-core intercooler from Procharger is rated at 800. That's at the flywheel. We've made well over 800 at the wheels with a 3-core, but how much was that holding us back, right? So the 2-core is definitely probably one of the restrictions. We don't have anyway, we didn't on this car tap the Procharger side for boost reference. So sometimes we'll do like we've done on the Torqstorm before, we'll check the boost at the blower and check the boost on the other side of the intercooler and kind of see what the loss is between there. That would be good data to have. Just with what we're doing here, we did not do that.
And this car is making a lot more power than it will on a normal day.
It is. Yeah. It's cold today, you guys. It's January, 7th.
Yeah, and it's low 30s. It says.
It's cold to us. Some of y'all might.
Yeah, somebody I'm sure like, yo, what's that? I'll go out there in shorts.
Yeah.
But this goes from outside, this main fan we use now, which is newer. Thanks. That was a great addition. And so it's literally blowing air directly from the wooded side of the
It's
yard.
a blizzard in here. The wind chill is much, much cooler than the actual outside air temp. Right now it's 38 degrees outside, it says. In here, with that fan going, it's more like 20 something. So very, very cold. But so the foundation of this motor, when he brought this originally for the build, we did LS9 head gaskets, head studs, the red hot, trunnions, the balancer, we pinned it. He knew he was going to go boost, so we had a good foundation. We had a wild catch can on it from Mighty Mouse and all that stuff. So
he even did the injectors right off the gate.
We did the injectors too. So all we did this time was the blower and a DSX aux fuel system with a 320 pump in it. It's got the factory in tank, which we know what we can make on those, and it landed there in some ways. You'll see here. So we got a lot of stuff. This is a very busy screen, so just bear with us here. We'll try to make it make sense. But start with the Torqstorm car. I'm gonna highlight it, which I don't usually like the fat lines, but we got a lot of stuff going on here. So,
all right,
this is the Torqstorm car on 93 with the filter on, and it made 555 and 507 torque.
Yep, that's this one, 555, 507 torque,
and this was.
I think it maxed
8
out around
PSI.
It maxed out around 8 psi.
So 8.5, somewhere around in there, and this was 93, so we didn't have a lot of timing in it.
We were pretty safe. Funny enough, the 93 was about 18 degrees on this one. And then
this number, the 610, yeah.
And 538 torque. This red one is the one.
Oops, I'm making all kinds of mistakes here.
That was the one that was on E85. So as you can see, it picked up nicely. They always do. And the curves match, right? So you're at 610, 538. So same boost, of course.
So it was 555.7 on 93 and then 610.9 on E85.
Correct.
That's our typical, what we usually see, 10% or so. It's 55, 60 more horsepower.
Yep.
That's what we usually see.
And that's our typical gains on E85. And I did notice timing was the exact same on both cars on 93.
On 93, 18 on both.
Correct, 18 degrees on 6 or 7 PSI. And for what it's worth, just because the internet, I always pull out a degree or two before it leaves and put it into the E85. You're getting all your power, you're getting it in the most efficient way and the safest way.
Yep.
So I guess you could close those two out now if you want to, or do you want to keep them up? You know what I mean?
We can close those. You got the idea there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right. So now we're narrowing down.
Yeah, we're unbusying some things here, so we'll just leave these three up because this is this one car.
Even though they're really similar colors, and I know it's really getting to you.
I know. I hate that. You know, I hate it.
But so after tuning, this car was 649 and 559 on 93. So that is a gain of almost 190.
Yeah. Up top it was 110 horsepower.
And it peaked
over the Torqstorm.
Barely 10 pounds. And I mean barely. Most of the runs were about 9.
Yep.
So noting that, the thing I wanted to go over, which I'll go over to my computer in a second, you can close all my nasty air fuel. This is one we did with the filter off, and yes, it got a little lean, so no big deal. All right, so
our E85 number on this car was 672, and you'll notice that's pretty close to the 648.
Yeah, and I said the same thing.
It wasn't our 10%. We'll talk about that though.
Yeah.
There's some correction factor things happening today.
I think there's a couple things. I think it's maxing out this 2-core.
I do too.
And the correction today is crazy. It's really making much more power today. Before he goes with that one, we just popped the filter off.
Yeah.
695.
Filter's worth 20, and that's typical. And we do find that it's worth more on smaller, less efficient blowers.
Yes, that's true.
When you have bigger blowers that the impeller's just still ready, you know, it does help, but it doesn't make as much difference. So.
I think this blower is in its efficiency zone range pretty well. Putting a 3-core on there.
Yeah.
And I think this blower would do
with the 3-core.
You think we could do pulling it down, 3-core, 800.
Yeah, with a fuel system, and that's what we're up against here. And we know
You can pull up the fuel log. That's
yeah, we did do fuel pressure. We can log that here. The G8 or the SS, the Caprices, they have fuel pump control modules in them. They display actual fuel pressure on the log at the tank, at the back where the sensor is. So we can log fuel pressure on HP tuners and the VCM scanner on those cars. On these cars, it's a virtual fuel pressure. It's like, hey, you
always
got 58, 59, whatever
every
it is.
time.
Here, with these cars, we put a sensor on the end of the rail and we log it on the dyno. So that's pretty helpful. I got to do all three to get it in here, so I just shove that one up a bit. But you can see the fuel pressure falls off, and that's going to happen on a dead-end fuel system that's not boost referenced.
Correct.
Any fuel system that's not boost referenced, obviously your pressure is going to fall. We're seeing that here.
We're able to make it safe at 700 wheel.
Yeah.
Once you get above 700 wheel with a G8, you're not going to be able to make any more with this setup.
That's right.
You're going to have to go dual end tanks, aftermarket, a lot of stuff.
So we're hitting when it's spiking to 72, 73 when the DSX comes on initially.
And you know that regulator is just popping off right
Yeah,
then.
so it's dumping in the tank. The regulator in the G8s are 60 PSI, 58 PSI in the tank. The ones in the SS and PPV Caprices are 80, and that's just for key off fuel pressure.
Because you can command 80 all the time, so you'll see 80 pounds of fuel pressure regularly in CTSVs, SSs, Caprices.
And here at the end, we're 52.
Not horrible.
It's not terrible, but when you think about we have
10 pounds
on one end, that's 41.
Yeah.
And then we've got E85, so
Using a lot of fuel.
we need more fuel, and we know that. But we always say you can get about 700 on a G8.
You can go ahead and we'll show what the air fuel is. I'm like I said, I'm good with that. What did we end up at on?
I'm gonna do 2 grabs.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So the highest we saw was 11.7, and this was with no filter on.
Yeah.
So on your normal day-to-day, you're going to have a filter on, and you're going to be closer to this 11.5, yeah, there you go, about 11.6.
Yeah, so
we're safe, but
it's all safe, it's all good. It's not on a ragged edge, it doesn't have a ton of timing in it, and it's not making a ton of boost.
Correct. I mean, boost is barely tickling 10. It's really, we're going to shift this car, just for references here, as well, around 6,600, 6,700. It's going to be right about here. And we're going to go ahead and that way get it onto the next gear. It's already making, it came in at 440 with the red hot on E85.
That's right.
It's picking up.
It's making
a ton more, 250 shot.
Yeah, it's a 250 shot. It's really nice. So,
oh wow, yeah.
Look at the conditions here. This is what we're going to talk about with correction a bit and fueling. The correction today, SAE correction is pulling 6% out of
That's
our
here because
number.
SAE is 94% of what it's making today.
Yep, so we're losing 6% of what the drum is seeing. So what does that mean? And this goes back to what we preach and everybody should be preaching, is the dyno is a tuning tool, and the number it makes on the screen, what does it really mean?
Yep.
So we use SAE correction, which has a standard temperature and pressure that it references every day to, and SAE also has another mechanical percentage compensation. But getting out of that, if you had an exact day that was what SAE corrects to, which is 77 degrees, and there's a pressure and there's zero humidity. If you had that day, it would be 1-to-1, or close to that number. It'd be 1-to-1, no correction. When you get extremely on one side or the other, it either adds or takes away quite a bit. So what does that mean? The fuel that the car takes or needs today is based on the power that the engine's actually making, not what the dyno is saying.
Correct.
So why are we running out of fuel at 670, at 690?
Because that's not
700.
Well,
so here's
what we really made today.
Here's why, because this is uncorrected. This is today's horsepower on the drum.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're making 711 filter on E, 736 filter off on E. And that's how much fuel we have to give the car.
Correct. So if this car was during summer, it would make less power, it'd be using less fuel, but the number would still stay.
That's right. The number would be the same.
The uncorrected number
That's what
today
you're
would
saying.
probably be 650.
Right. It could be much
And then
lower.
it would bring it up. So,
And that's why you need a correction factor, so that, because you can never have the same day
Correct.
twice. You need a correction. You need some math. You got to have something that's consistent. But when it comes to fueling and things like this, uncorrected is what the car's making. So you have to give the motor enough fuel to make that power.
and today the car is making 737 rear wheel horsepower.
Right, which is pretty awesome.
Which is a lot, yeah.
On a P1 with a two-core. But it's cold,
100%.
right?
I would say that it would make 800 no problem. With a little more intercooler, more fuel, of course, and pulling it down to where it makes about
Yeah,
12.
I do
I
too.
think it'll
I do.
make a P1 will make 15 pounds of boost.
Yeah, again, it's a 7/8 lower. Stock Procharger is 7 inches, so we're 8/10 bigger on our lower, which is typically about half. It's like going 4/10 smaller on the upper. It's not.
Oh yeah, that's your
1-to-1.
setup down there.
And if we had something in the 3, 8, 9,
Yeah.
it would be 3 or 4 more pounds, 13, 14 pounds. The blower would be closer to its max RPM speed. We can make big power with it. I mean, it's
I think that would be good to do.
But you got to have something to dissipate the heat of these little blowers spinning harder. So
Correct.
that's when you kind of get
That goes back to a lot of people have the LSA 2650 argument.
Right.
Well, 2650, I can spin it less and make more boost and still have less heat. And we've seen some 2650s that they heat as well, but I do see the argument. Same thing as putting a bigger blower on this.
You know, and everything has an efficiency RPM. It's just like a turbo has an efficiency RPM. It has an AR. It has these blowers. You can't take a huge blower and just slow it way down. It's not going to be efficient.
Correct.
You know, if you're not going to make a bunch of power or make a bunch of boost, run a smaller blower and spin it.
I agree. And so I think he's got the right blower for what he's going to do with this car.
I do too. I think it's great. I think, you know, if he wants to do a fuel system down the road, we'll upgrade a bit. We'll make more power. We'll do an intercooler, hopefully, something a little bigger. But it's doing great. I think
that's really the only.
The car's doing awesome. It's
he'll
a great
enjoy it. I don't
combination.
even. I mean, he really never even has to change anything. But us being hot riders, we're always thinking about what's the next thing, or what can we do next. So that's kind of just.
That's the fun of it, right? Like, you can't be happy and settled. You can't stop working, and you can't stop looking for the next best thing. So that's what we do.
And while the only other thing I wanted to do was I was going to go over here. I have two logs pulled up. Both of these are filter on Torqstorm and filter on P1. This one is the P1, and I just was mainly doing it for our boost numbers. 5 pounds of boost, give or take, at 5,000 RPM. And then at our peak here, we're going to do, I think I didn't turn the Caprice, but about 6,600, so we'll do the same. Almost 9. Now we'll pull up the Caprice with the Torqstorm. And forgive my boost, I have to figure that out. And so if anybody knows, they can definitely put that in. Anytime I log a Caprice with a blower, the boost number is actually my 14.7 plus the boost. So anyway, I got to figure that out. So right
in other
here,
words, if it's 19.7, that's 5.
Yep. So it made 5 at 5,000, which is the exact same, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And then it just didn't continue to pick up quite as much. I went to 6,700 on the G8, so we'll do the same here, right there. And that's 22.83. So that's 8 pounds. Yeah, that's about
8.1. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's about I'm going to say almost a pound at 6,700, but the horsepower is higher. So that is boost.
It's, it's airflow, right?
It's airflow and efficiency. I think a lot of those things make a difference. And he had the Treadstone on his.
He did. He had a Treadstone intercooler. He had the good one.
He probably actually has a better intercooler than, or
probably is.
Comparably. Yeah, it depends.
Pretty good intercooler.
But that's a lot of information. So I know we just way overloaded you on a 20-minute video. So just reply, send us a message. We can go into more details on things, especially if you need anything. We can piece you something together for whatever you want and what fits you. And like you said, we're not against Torqstorms. We deal with them all the time. Just we're intimately familiar with the Procharger system and the setups, and we're a dealer for them, and we just love the setups and the power they make. So,
they'll grow with you. They'll just continue.
And they'll grow with you. So with that being said, I do promise we're going to get out the BTR cam difference. Somebody else sent me a message 2 days ago.
Yeah, we will for sure. It is confusing. There's been a lot of changes lately, so we'll do.
Yeah, we'll go through that. Dusty got a couple videos of this thing. It sounds nasty. I'll get it, of course, out and off the rollers, and we'll be back soon. We're going to try to get more of these uploads. We got a lot of stuff sort of in the works, but we've just been so busy doing those things. It's hard to.
Yeah, things have been.
It's hard to film.
Holidays, you know how it is.
Yeah, and it's hard to film when we're so busy. And Dusty's over there working, I'm over here working, and it's just, got to get our schedules together to get over here and film, because we hear the comments and people stop by all the time and say, hey, how's the Caprice, or how's the CTSV, or how's the SS? So it is nice to hear. So anyway,
some people also don't realize what we do, who we are, and that kind of thing.
This is Dusty Wall.
I see your video, but I don't see you post, and
that's Dusty. I'm Chris.
Chris Davis, and
so we're Blazing Eye Performance. That, like I said, that sounds repetitive, but I guess we don't brand ourselves in that way as much as we should. So anyways, appreciate it, man. We'll be back. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.